Good morning. Happy Thursday. How is everybody? Hope you're good. Hope you can join us today for the Zoom meeting. Did you notice what's behind me today? Yeah, some people running. In fact, they're on a track. And so this is kind of like a track meet. And today's story takes us to a track meet. And so that's why I have the track behind us. Remember, the doctor had just figured out that Mr. Alden was the children's grandfather. It goes on to tell more. Here we go, chapter 10. James Henry Alden was a very rich man. His big mill stood between Greenfield and Silver City. Now, James H. Alden liked boys. He liked to see them running and jumping and playing, so each year with 3 older rich men, he gave a field day to the town of Silver City. And even the mills were closed on field day. Every year the boys were in training for the races. And not only boys, but men also, thin and fat, and girls trained for field day. There were prizes for all kinds of races, running, swimming, and jumping. The best one was a foot race called a free-for-all because anyone could run in it. And Mr. Alden gave a prize of $25 and a silver cup to the winner of the free-for-all. Sometimes a boy won the race, sometimes a girl. Once a fat man had won it. On field day, Henry was cutting the grass for Mr. Moore. Suddenly, the doctor stopped his car in the street and called to Henry. "Hop in," he said. "Today's field day, and I want you to see the races." Henry hopped in and the doctor started the car. "I'm sorry, I can't go," said Dr. Moore. "I want to know all about it, and I want you to tell me who wins the race." Soon, Henry found himself sitting in the bleachers. By and by, a small boy climbed to the bleachers and sat beside him. Then a man called, "Free-for-all, come and get ready." "What is that?" said Henry. "A free-for-all? Don't you know?" asked the little boy. "Didn't you see the last year's?" "No," said Henry. The boy laughed. "Well, that was a funny one," he said. "There were 2 fat men in it and some girls and boys, and the boys over there won it. And you should have seen him. He ran so fast you could hardly see his legs at all." Henry looked at the winner of last year's race. He was smaller than Henry, but he was older. Suddenly, Henry stood up and quietly left the bleachers. He went to the room where the boys were getting ready for the race. "Do you want to run in the race?" a man asked. "Yes," said Henry. The man gave him some track clothes to put on. "Where did you train?" he asked. "I've never trained," said Henry. "These boys have been training all year," remarked the man. "Oh, I don't think I'll win," answered Henry. "But I do like to run. It's a lot of fun, you know." "So it is," said the man, "so it is." Henry could hardly wait for the race to begin. He loved to run, at last the race was called. It was time to start. Henry was number 4. Now Henry began to think, "It's a long race," he said to himself. "I must go easy at first." The bell rang and off the runners went down the track. In almost no time, Henry was far behind most of the other runners, but he did not seem to mind this. It was fun to run anyways, he said again to himself, and he tried to see how easily he could run. And all at once, he had another thought. "I've tried to see how easy I can run," he said to himself. "Now I shall see how fast I can run." Then all the people began to see how fast Henry could run. He ran faster and faster, and soon he passed the 2 girls ahead of him. The picture, you can see it. There it is. There's all the runners, kind of a silhouette of the picture. Then he passed a fat man and a little boy, and the people began to shout, "Number 4, number 4. Here was the kind of race he loved. "Faster, faster," cried Henry to himself. "I can run faster than this." He could. He passed number 25 and number 6, and he passed number 5 and number 10. Only one runner was ahead of Henry now. It was number 16. Then Henry began to think of winning the race. He knew how much the $25 prize would mean to Jessie and the rest of the children. "I'm going to win this race," he said to himself. "I have to just pass number 16. He still ran faster. He could see the line at the end of the race. "Number 4, number 4, shouted the people. "He's going to win." When Henry was near number 16, he put his head down. He ran as fast as he possibly could, and he passed number 16. He went across the line. He had won. The people shouted and shouted, and some men held up Henry up high, and they carried him to Mr. Alden for the prize. Then a man said, "What's your name, boy?" Henry didn't know what to say. He did not want to tell his name, so he answered, "Henry James." Now this was Henry's name, but was not all of his name. At once the big sign said, "Henry James, number 4, winner of free-for-all. Here's your prize, Henry James," said Mr. Alden. "You can run well, my boy. I like to see you run." He gave Henry the silver cup and the $25. Then he shook hands with him. Just then Dr. Moore came along and climbed up the bleachers, but Henry did not see him. The doctor laughed to himself as Henry James shook hands with James Henry. At last, Henry got away from the people and started back to Dr. Moore's. He had the $25 prize in his pocket, and when Dr. Moore came home and found Henry cutting the grass, he laughed quietly to himself. "I just got home," said Henry, "and I will tell you who won the race." Dr. Moore did not tell Henry that he had been up at the bleachers. He let Henry tell him all about the race. "And who won the free-for-all?" he asked. "Well, I did," said Henry. "You did?" cried Dr. Moore. "Good for you. What were you going to do with all that money?" "Oh, I'll give it to Jessie," answered Henry. "Good," said the doctor again. When Henry arrived at the boxcar with the $25, he found dinner ready. Jessie had boiled the rest of the vegetables and put butter on top. The children began to eat, but hungry as they were, stopped when Henry told them all about the race and showed them the silver cup. They were so excited that they couldn't even eat. "You won the race, Henry?" cried Jessie, delighted. "Oh, I'm so glad." "You can run fast, Henry," said Benny. "I'm glad you won the race, too." He looked at the silver cup. "I said my name was Henry James," said Henry. "That's right," said Jessie. "So it is. You didn't change it at all." "Are we rich now, Henry?" asked Benny. "Well, no, not very," said Henry, laughing. "By the way, I bought something for supper." Jessie looked in the bag, and there were some fat brown potatoes in it. "Oh, I know how to cook these," cried Jessie. "They'll be good. You just wait." "I can't wait," said Henry, laughing. Then he went back to work. After dinner, Benny played around with the dog. Benny, Jessie," Jessie said suddenly as she hung her dish towel up to dry, "it's high time you learn to read." "No," said Benny. "No school. No, not now." Jessie laughed. "No," she said. "You can't go to school, but I can help you." "I wish I had a book." "We could make a book," said Violet. "Here we have some paper from our bundles." "So we could," replied Jessie. "But what can we use to make the words?" "Well, we could use a burnt stick out of the fire," said Violet. So Jessie put the end of a long stick into the fire and burned it black. And then she used the burnt end to make a word. "Won't Henry be glad when he finds Benny can read?" cried Violet. Now Benny did not want to learn to read, but he liked to watch the girls make the book. And so Jessie made the word see, me in the book. Then she called Benny, but he couldn't not tell see from me. "Don't you see, Benny?" said Jessie. "This one has an S. It says see. This one has an M. It says me." But Benny did not see. "It's too hard for me," he said. "I'll tell you, Jessie," said Violet at last. "Let's make see on one paper and me on the other. That's the way they do it at school. Then have him point to see." The girls did this. They called Benny and Jessie and showed him again very carefully the word that said see. Then she put the two words down on the ground. "Now, Benny, point to see," said Jessie. Benny looked at the words he could not tell, but watched Bart and put his paw on see. There's a picture. There we go. Now Watts did not know one word from the other, but Benny thought he did. Was he going to let a dog get ahead of him? Not Benny. He looked at the words and learned them almost at once. "Good old Watch," said Jessie. "It isn't hard at all," said Benny. "Is it, Watch?" Before supper, Benny could read see me run, I can run, can you run? "Good boy," said Jessie. Now I must get supper. The children started up the fire and washed the potatoes in the brook. Then Jessie put the wet paper around them and put them in the fire under the hot stones. Are you going to burn them up, Jessie? Asked Benny. Oh no, Benny, said Jessie. You wait and see. When Henry came home, he found Jessie rolling the potatoes out of the fire. They are very black. Oh, did you burn them up? Asked Henry. No, indeed, said Jessie. Come and see. She gave 3 black potatoes to each one. They're very hot, said Violet. Look out. Open them, said Jessie, and take out the potato with a spoon. Then put butter on top and some salt. I will get Benny's out. Well, how are they? Oh, cried Benny, they are delicious. What did I tell you, said Jessie. Have some milk. Milk and potatoes make a very good supper, said Henry. I can read, remarked Benny. What, said Henry. Yes, he can, said Violet. He learned this afternoon. Go and get your book, Benny. Benny liked to read now. It's not hard, he said. Watch can read too. Oh, can he? Laughed Henry. Well, let's just see him. Watch is too tired now, said Benny. I'll read to you. Benny read out of his new book. Good old Benny, said Henry. Come to bed now. You must be tired with all that work. And I am tired too. And that is the end of chapter 10. So how did you like it? What do you think about being able to run without even training? He was pretty good at something and he didn't even know he was so good at it. Tell me about a talent that you have, something that comes easy to you. Did you all of a sudden know how to ride a bike without even trying hard? Are you an amazing reader and it just comes natural to you? Or maybe you really like soccer. Tell me what you are really good at. I'd love to hear it in your journal today. And have a great day, and we'll see you later.